Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is gonna be about how to make this top which I have on. So stay tuned and learn how to cut and sew it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so at the end of this video. This is my kente fabric and this is the sketch of the top. It's gonna look like that. It's gonna be cropped and have straps. These are my measurements which I'm going to be using. We're just going to focus on the first three, which is the bust, waist and top length. So first of all, I'm going to divide my bust measurements into two, and the easiest way to do that is by folding the tape into two. So you don't have to use calculator or use your brain, just fold tape into two, and when you divide 33 by 2, you're going to get 16.5. So I'm just going to add 3 inches allowance for the stitching and for the dart, and that brings it to 19.5. So remember the length was 17, so I'm going to add 2 inches allowance to that for the folding on the bottom, and I'm going to cut out 17 by 19.5. After cutting, I'm going to fold it into 2 on the width side. Next, I'm going to cut 2 inches from the top. I could have subtracted this before cutting out this block, but I didn't want any confusion. So the 2 inches is being cut out because I'm going to attach straps to this top. So after cutting out the piece, I'm going to pretend as if it were still there and take my measurements as normal. So I want the depth of my neck to be 8 inches. So I'm just going to mark the points there. And then I want the width of my neck to be 3 inches. I don't want it too wide. So I'm just going to mark that there too. And then I go ahead to use a ruler to connect both points. You could do it with your freehand if you feel like, but I just felt like using a ruler for this video. So next, I'm going to mark for my armhole. When doing this, remember to take out the 2 inches just as we did when we're marking for the neck. So I want the length or the depth of my armhole to be 8 inches. So I'm just going to mark that down, 8 inches for the depth of my armhole. And so I connect where the 8 inches is to the top of the top, if that makes sense. So I'm going to cut out the marked parts, just make it a V shape like that. Next, I'm going to measure for my dart, and that's going to be 4 inches. So I'm just going to make a notch there so I don't miss that point. Then from the top, I measure 10 inches downwards because that's my bust point. So I'm just going to mark that and draw a straight line down. Remember, that's going to be 4 inches. So I flip the fabric over and do the same thing on the other side. So for the back piece, I'm going to measure whatever the length is here and cut it out. So that's going to be 11 by 20 because remember 20 was the width. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this piece into 2. To make that for the back, I'm just going to fold it into 2 and just notch the middle point. Next, I'm going to need the facing for my neck, so I just grab a scrap fabric and place my front block on it like so, and then I'm going to pin it down. After pinning, I'm going to trace out the neck on the scrap fabric and cut it. Then flip it over, and then make sure you differentiate between the scrap fabric and the actual block piece. So on the scrap fabric, I'm going to cut like about 1.5 inches into it. Make sure you are cutting on the scrap fabric. Make sure you don't have any piece of little fabric. So that's what it's going to look like after that's been done. So next, I'm going to do the same thing on the armholes, pin and trace. So that's been done. Next, I'm just going to take this piece to my machine and sew where the pins are. Like so, just sew where those pins are, the V-shaped and the armholes. Avoid sewing on both facings. Make sure to lift one facing when you're sewing the other one down. So like I said guys, I'm going to sew where the pins are. When sewing it though, make sure to take out the pins as you go, because if not, it's going to break your needles and you're going to have to buy a bunch of needles. So as we approach the V, it's advised you slow down and just go slow at this point. And then when you reach the middle point of that V, just make like 1 or 2 extra stitches. Make sure you're at that point. Make sure your needle is in the fabric. So if you've made sure you're at that point, you're nearly using the fabric, you take up your presser foot and turn the fabric so that you can continue sewing, and then you would have maintained that point, having a perfect v-neck when you're done sewing. Next, I'm going to sew my dart, and I just start by folding where I notched earlier on. So the width of my dart is going to be 1/4 inch, and then I just keep reducing it as I go. I'm going to have to do like a whole separate in-depth video on how to make that, because that's like a whole topic on its own. This is what your dart should look like. After sewing both darts, you should have a curve that looks like this for the bust. That's the main aim of the darts. On the neck of the top, I'm gonna make a notch at that V point, and voila, my front panel is done. For the back block, I'm gonna fold the top. I actually forgot to add allowance for this, so if you're cutting, I'm going to advise you add an inch allowance to the back panel. Next, I'm just going to sew a line on the folded piece. Next, I'm going to fold the middle part of the back the same way I did the top, and sew. Then I'm going to sew my dart, and I'm going to repeat all these processes on the second piece. So next, I'm going to make my bunny ears, or the hoops, the things to make the ropes pass through. For that, I cut out 1.5 by 3.5 pieces of fabric, and I'm just going to fold them like so and so. So it's going to be a total of 10 hoops, or bunny ears. I'm just going to fold it in two and pin it down to make the bunny ears. So I pinned them all down, as you can see. Next, I'm going to sew on it. When sewing, make sure you double tack like a lot of times, or back tack a lot of times, so that it's firm and it doesn't come off easily. So I'm just going to sew it and back tack multiple times. So I've sewn all of them down, and this is what it should look like. So next, I'm just going to grab my front piece and then place it on the table, spread it out, and then lay my back pieces on it. So that's going to be front facing front, because right now we're about to pin down so we can join both pieces. So next, I'm going to measure my bust again and divide it like I did at the start of this video. So the bust was 33, if you recall. I'm just going to divide that by 2 again, and that was 16.5. So I'm just going to place it across the fabric like so. And so I'm going to pin exactly where it is 16.5. This time I'm not adding any allowances. I'm going to pin at exactly that point. So any allowance I have left is going to be for my stitching. So I'm going to do the same thing for my waist. My waist is 25, so I'm going to divide that by 2, and that's going to be 12.5. So that's going to be 12.5, and then I'm going to place it the same way I did the bust, and then pin at that exact point. Make sure it's being centralized so you don't have too much allowance on one side. So I just pin the points down and sew afterwards. So I'm just gonna sew like a straight or a slanted line, just joining the bust point to the waist point. Next, I measure the length, which is supposed to be 17. Remember to take out the 2 from the top, and then fold in whatever excess you have at the bottom and sew. Make sure you tuck in and manipulate the fabric as you sew. So I ended up adding up 2 bunny ears to the bottom because there was just too much space. So at the end of the day, I had 12 bunny ears. So guys, I cut out 2 straps, 45 by 2 inch each, and I'm going to fold them just like I did with bunny ears and just sew them all the way down. So next I'm going to hem the armhole and the neck. Hemming can be very tricky. You could do this with your machine, but I'm just going to do this by hand. So first of all, you pick up a very tiny piece from the bottom of the fabric, like the fabric itself, and then you pick a big piece from the top. It should look like that. And then you pull. You have to keep arranging as it goes so it doesn't bunch up at one point. So again, you pick up a very tiny, if possible just a strand of fabric, and then pick up like everything on top like that. So that's how you hem. So I'm just going to do like that for the armhole and the neck. After hemming, that's what it looks like. So I'm just going to attach the straps, and ta-da! I've made myself a crop top.
Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know if you like to see me do stuff like this like every week. If you like to see me sew stuff or just do random fashion stuff, let me know what you like to see on my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that at the end of this video. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching my video. Bye. See you next week.